Can you guys hear me? Okay. Can you see my screen? Zaro, look at my screen. You see up here?
Yes, I can see the screen. I know you're recording, but where do we find it in Blackboard? We want to go over it.
Okay. Here, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you right now. Can you see the screen? Rosario, no, talk to me because I can't see that. Can you see the screen?
I'm sorry, I have a little dog that's barking, but yes, I can see the screen.
Okay. You see where it says menu right here? This little 3-bar?
Yes.
You click on that and you see recordings. And there they are.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, that's where they are. And you do, when you finish with the class, you go into what I just showed, you go into Blackboard Ultra and it says session, right? And you click on the little 3 bars to your left. And then a drop down will come in and it'll say recordings. And then you watch whichever one you want or whichever one you need. Now, when the class starts, I have to say something. That's where they are, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yes, Swell.
Hi, Professor. Good evening. I have
How
a
you
question.
doing?
I'm good, Professor. How about you?
I'm good.
Professor, I have a question regarding
Okay.
chapter 2.
Uh-huh.
You have posted the homework, but the quiz I cannot see on my screen.
Because I just put it on there.
Oh, okay.
You should see it at 7. It should be on there now.
Now you have done it?
Yeah, I've done it.
Oh, all right. Okay. Yeah, because I was not able to see it before. That's
Right.
why.
Okay.
And second thing, Professor, like whatever we do in the quiz, we will get to see similar questions. Like the numbers will be changed, but the similar style of question in the exams.
100%.
All right, Professor. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay. I wanted to make sure that I want to stress this fact to everyone. Um, I just checked the homework. I just checked on someone, and randomly, I'm not mentioning any names, and I saw that there was a problem with the rounding. With the rounding. Okay. I can't stress enough how important that is in real life, in the business world, and in your test results or homework results. Because we're doing homework, and I saw someone put down, they had the right, most of the answer right. I am not grading them. If I were, then it would be different. Then I said, okay, this is what she meant or he meant. But I'm not grading them. So I cannot change the rounding. This is why I stress, right. So this is why I stress, which financial calculator you have? The one I have here? The same one? The BA2 Plus Professional? Okay, so call up Texas Instrument. I believe they have its second, and then format, and then put 6 and then enter. I think you have to, I want it at 6 places. That way you won't have a problem. Okay? Another thing I wanted to
Say it again, Professor. I didn't get it. I will do it now.
all right, I think it's second, format, 6, and enter. If I'm wrong, call up the Texas Instrument. They have a help desk, and they're very good. They're very, very good at helping. Right? You're going to need that because I've seen people take the exam and they get a lot of questions wrong. They have the majority of the question right, but they got the question wrong. Okay, when you go into the real world, the real business world, if you forget to put the rounding like 0.003, 0.007, you forgot to put the 0.007 or the 0.7, whatever it is. And when you're working with $300, $400, $600, $700 million, it could be a lot of money. And God forbid you made that mistake 3, 4, 5 times in a week. You won't be there long at this company. Another stress I wanted to make is that some of you are going to get this faster than others. But at the same time, please don't get ahead of yourself. We go over this thing over and over and over again. That way it becomes second nature, right? When you're driving by yourself, when you're alone doing this exam or what groups, that's up to you, right? And the questions, the numbers are different, this and that. It's a reshuffling of questions. It's like trying to take a shortcut and then you get lost in a car and then you start to panic. That's what happens. And some of you, I know it, I never panic. I know what I'm doing, this and that. I'm all for it, but I'm going to tell you each semester that I've been teaching this is going on number 8 or number 9 semesters, maybe even more. All right. I get the same thing. Good. So I get the same thing each year. Or what can I do for extra credit? Oh, professor, I can't believe it, this and that. Believe what I tell you. Believe what I tell you. It requires a lot. All right. Yes. Okay. I can't see that. Hold on. What was the last chat? Yeah, because what happens is when we start doing mortgages and stuff like that, and car notes and leases, you're going to need it to go out. Okay. All right. Let me get going here. Okay. So we're looking at the homework and we're going to go over it. And after that, I'm going to go over a couple of questions on the quiz that we didn't go over. That way I'll go over it and then everybody would understand it. Now, this question is saying a global's book value and equity changed between 2015 and 2016. So the difference between 22.6 and 20.8 is 1.8 million. Right? This is their balance sheet. And what it's asking you is the change in equity from the year. So this is a good company because it went up in value. Right? 1 year, it grew by 1.8 million. Right? But in real life, when you're working for a large institution, it'll be billions, right? It'll be like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions, right? It'll be billions that change, right? The other thing that is that you have to understand, it says that this implied that the market price of global share increased in 2016. Select all the choices that apply. So the market value of a stock does not depend on the historical course of the firm's asset, but investors' expectation of the firm's future performance. Always, right? We always, if we're investing, we always want to make sure that we are we're an investment that's going to bring us money, right? We're an investment that's going to look out for our best interests, right? An increase in book value does not necessarily indicate an increase in global share prices. Absolutely, right? One thing that we have to understand that the book value and market value are two different things, right? Two different things, right? One can go up, the other one can go down. One can go down, the other one can go up. If right now, the government of the United States contracted Boeing to make 300 fighter jet planes. I'm just giving you an example. I'm not saying that's what it is, right? The market value of Boeing's share prices will go up based on the fact that they're going to be getting a deal next year to build 300 planes. However, the book value would not show that until next year, until that goes on the books as an asset or as revenue. You get it? Right? Market value and book value, different things. Right? Book value is what's on the balance sheet. Market value is what they feel that you're worth on Wall Street, right? Outstanding shares time price. That's your market value, right? There are many events that may affect global's future profitabilities and hence its share price that do not show up on the balance sheet. That's just what I just told you. Exactly what I just said, right? A lot of times things happen and it could be negative also. It could be negative. It could be positive news and it could be negative news. Okay, this this question, a lot of people got wrong on the homework, right? A lot of people got wrong on the homework. When you buy something, right? When you buy something that can be depreciated on your books, first thing first, depreciation is always negative, right? Always negative, always, right? So this is saying, what effect would a 10.22 million operating expense have on this year's earnings, right? And what effect would it have on next year's earnings? You're taking everything in 1 year. So 10.22 times 1 minus 0.35. 10.22 minus 1.35. This 35 gets converted into a decimal, and 1 equals 1. 100 is 1, right, as a decimal, right? So we say 0.35, 1 minus 0.35, and it's 0.65. So 0.65 times 10.22 equals negative 0.64. Class, negative 0.64. It's a negative number. Since you are taking everything up front for the year, it would have no effect in next year's earnings. Zero effect in next year. There would be no effect on next year's earnings, right? Now, the second part of the question, it says, what effect would 8.7 million capital expense have on this year's earning if the capital is depreciated at a rate of 1.74 for 5 years? What effect would it have on next year's earnings? Okay, it will have an effect, but it didn't ask you that question. What you need to do is to calculate, right? It's giving you the answer. This 8.74, right, divided by 5 equals 1.74. Right? It's doing it for you. So now what you do is you say 1.74 times 1 minus 0.35. So 1.74 times 0.65 equals negative 1.13. Both answers have to be negative, or else the answer is wrong. Both questions have to be negative, or else if you see this on the exam and you don't put negative here and there, the question is wrong. The answer is wrong, period. Period. Okay, there are no partial credits. That's it. It's wrong. Since it's 3 part answer, if you answer these 2 wrong, I don't know. Any questions here? Stop me if you don't understand what I'm saying. I prefer you questioning me while we're right in the middle of it. That way I can explain it. Okay? Let's continue. Okay? This is our give me question on our midterm. This is a very simple question. It says the revenue, suppose your firm received a 5.62 order on the last business day of the year. You will fill the order with 2.11 worth of inventory. The customer picks up the entire order the same day and pays 1.23 million upfront cash. You also issue a bill for the customer to pay the remaining balance of 4.39 within 40 days. Suppose your firm's tax rate is 0, so we're going to ignore that. Okay, now let's look at the transaction. First thing is the revenue comes in is 5.62, right? Now, we've given them 2.11 of inventory. So earnings, we have to subtract that from our revenue, right? This inventory amount. So we subtract 2.11 from 5.62 is 3.51. Receivables. Receivable means money that is outstanding and we're due to receive, right? It's 4.39, and that increases. Our inventory went down because we filled the order. We gave them 2.11. Our inventory went down by 2.11 worth of inventory. If they came in, they bought socks, dresses, whatever it is, our inventory went up. And now they paid us 1.23 in cash. That is this problem. That is this problem. I put my life on it. At least 3 or 4 people, if not more, are going to get this wrong on the test. This is definitely on the test. This is your gimme question. This is a question that everybody should get right. But I'm guaranteeing at least 3 or 4 people getting this wrong. Never fails. Never, ever fails. So remember, you subtract the revenue, right? You subtract the revenue. You subtract the inventory from the revenue. And then everything else goes the way, just fill in everything because it's there for you. The only thing that decreases is the inventory. Everything else is an increase. The only thing that decreases is the inventory. Everything else is an increase. Okay. A lot of people got some of these wrong. Market capitalization. Market capitalization is the number of shares outstanding times the market price. 9.6 times 31.39. 9.6 shares outstanding times 31.39. Market to book ratio. The market value divided by the book equity. So the market value of this company is 3 times what it is on the balance sheet. Now, if this was Amazon, this number would be through the roof because their market value is almost at $1 trillion. Almost at $1 trillion. And I know that their book value is nowhere near that. Not even like miles away. Debt to equity. What is debt to equity, class? Somebody. Come on.
Total debt divided by book value of equity.
That's right. Which is 2.4. Not bad. What is market debt to equity ratio?
Total debt divided
Total
by
debt over market capitalization.
That's right. That's right. And it's less than 1, which is good for a company. Now, this right here this enterprise value, is one of the most important things when you own a company. Because if they are willing, if they want to buy the company, they have to know what the company's worth right then and there. Right, when these real wealthy companies, they come in and they do a raid or take over, right? They need to know the enterprise value. What's the enterprise value? Anybody?
It's the
Market
value of equity.
capitalization plus total debt minus cash.
What was that?
Market capitalization plus total debt minus.
Minus cash.
Market value of equity plus debt minus cash.
Okay. Good. Good. Okay. Are there any questions here? Okay, here's a little thing for everybody, especially if we have an issue. This right here, these formulas, right? Make a little note for yourself on your sheet, right? On your formula sheet. That way, if and when you see this on your exam, you know how to attack it. The one that usually people get wrong is this one and this one. These two. But I don't know, things might change. Okay. Current ratio, what do we do here?
Current assets divided by current liabilities.
Okay. And what about quick ratio?
Current assets minus inventory over.
I love this. Go ahead. Go ahead, Michelle.
Current assets minus
Inventory.
minus inventory over current liability.
Right. Ethan, when you see this in real life, if you were working for Apple and you guys were interested in buying Hewlett Packard. I'm just giving you an example, right? These things right here would have an effect on how you look at the company. Right, these numbers. Right? These numbers would have an effect, class, on how you look at the company. Right? They have a liquidity issue there, meaning to liquidate things. Yes.
Yeah, so speaking of that, would there be like a instance where like one is higher than the other, like the current ratio is higher than the quick ratio, or how we interpret that?
You know what? I'm not sure about that. I don't know if that's possible. You know, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. That's a very good question. You know, you never know. You know, Ethan, there are times I've seen things when I was on Wall Street. It used to shock me to death, man. I said, "Wow, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know that can happen." You know, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But good question, though. I'll look into that. I'll get back to you, okay?
All right.
Wait, isn't the
Okay.
quick ratio usually lower just because you're like minusing that the inventory?
Could be, Michelle, could be. I'm not, you know, I don't know. It could be. It could be because you're taking out inventory and all that. So it could be. But you never know. You never know. Right? And there are instances I've seen things that would, you would say, wow, you can do that? And they say, yeah, you can do that. So I don't know. I don't know for sure. Okay, so a lot of times what happens is when you see something in a different way, right? You see this right here, and then you see this, and all of a sudden it throws you off. This and this is this and that, right? It's giving you the book equity, but we have to calculate the market value and then do the division, and then we come up with these numbers. Now, Abercrombie and Fitch in real life has been struggling, right? And I don't know about the Gap. They were good at one time. The Gap was hot. I don't know what's going on now, but I know this company was struggling for a while, and it probably still is. So in maybe a few years ago, this was a legit market to book ratio. This can hold water. This was good. And 3.77 and 99 one time and with one time more the same, and then you have something that's worth 3 times, almost 4 times the market to book. Any questions here, class? Okay. This question right here, quite a few people got this wrong also. Okay. Let's go over this again. Okay. So local has sales of 10.8 million and cost of sales of 6.2. What is local gross margin? Gross margin is basically your sales minus your cost of sales divided by your sales times 100. So 10.8 minus 6.2 divided by 10.8 times 100. And that should give you this answer right here. One more time. 10.8 minus 6.2 divided by 10.8 times 100. And that gives you 42.6. Now, the operating, after you get your gross margin, right? Amount, not percentage, gross amount, right? Which is 10.8 minus 6.2, right? You subtract your expenses from that. So 10.8 minus 6.2 equals what? 4.6? Is that right? 4.6.
Yeah, 4.6.
Right. And then we subtract 510,000, 1,300,000, and 1,400,000. The answer we got for that, we divided by 10.8. Okay? The answer we got from that, so 4.6 minus 510 minus 1,300,000 minus 1,400,000 divided by 10.8, the answer multiply by 100. And you're going to get 12.9%. Now, 4.6 minus all these expenses that I just said, the answer to that, right, whatever it is, you're going to say that answer times 1 minus 0.35 divided by 10.8 is going to give you, times 100 is going to give you 8.37. If you don't understand, raise your hand and say, I don't get it. And that's why I'm here to help you. Okay? So the last part, 10.8 minus 6.2, 4.6, subtract all these expenses. The answer you got from that, you're going to say 1, you're going to times it 1 minus 0.35, which is 0.65, times that number, divided by 10.8 times 100. And that equals 8.37. Now, here's a problem that I saw in the homework. First and foremost, it tells you round to 1 decimal point. And then one of them says to 2 decimal point. You gotta pay attention to detail, right? Second thing I saw is people start making up their own rules, right? I saw that, and when I was checking your work, right? Whatever this says, this is what you follow. It didn't tell you round up. This doesn't become 43. It says round to 1 decimal place. Right? That's the first thing. 2 decimal places. You don't start adding. If this becomes 8.379, yes, this becomes 8.38 because it's to do 2 decimal points. Right? 8.379. Then you add the 1 to that. But you have to do what was asked of you from the question, not what you feel like doing. Right? And if this is on the test, if this rounding is off, you're going to get it wrong. And you're going to be upset at yourself. Here, the formula, right, for the operating margin and the total sales, right, is 29.5 times 1.104 divided by 172 by the interest expense, and you come out to 1.8. Again, the operating margin of 10.4 is converted into a decimal. That's the only way you'll be able to do your multiplication. This has to be converted into a decimal. So we move it 2 places. 0.104 times 29.5 divided by 1.72 is 1.8. This is saying the interest amount that you're able to pay. You're covering the interest coverage ratio. Okay, so let's look at this, and this is a big question, right? Why is the answer 2.097? Okay, let's look at the balance sheet, the sheet. 1649, right? And then you come out with a negative number of 448. So this number, 2097, had to be negative to take over this number, and the remaining balance is 448. That's what this is saying, and was negative. This had to be negative for it to take this number, and the remaining balance is 448. If you add these two together as absolute numbers, this will equal 2097. That's what happened. And, right, the second part is because book value of X is negative in this case, the company's market to book ratio and its book net are not meaningful, right? And because the book value of equity is negative in this case, the company's market to debt equity may not be used for comparison. A lot of times, class, a lot of times you can have a company that borrows a lot, right? Instead of issuing shares and this and that. And if they have great credit, that says a lot about the company. If people are willing and ready to lend them money, they doing something right. Right? A guy walks in and no problem. You know, you can see this guy, they run to them because they have great credit. They have a great future in front of them. So because a company borrows a lot, that doesn't mean that they're out of control. Just like when you don't pay your bills and you get phone calls, the same thing happens when a company doesn't pay, right? I've had companies that owed me money for when we were working at the bank, and we did a deal with them, and they were supposed to send our check based on the deal that we were in, and they taking their sweet time. And a lot of times when a company's like that, they have issues. And then it has to be escalated to senior people and all this. They have issues. And then you have another company, they owe you and they pay you the next day. And you never see them, or their receivables is past 60 days or 90 days, and then it's referred. Then they have to call the vice president, even the CEO, based on the size of the company, gets involved because we want our money. And then the third part is information from the statement cash flow help explain the decrease in book value and equity result for an increase in debt was used to repurchase the firm's worth of the firm's shares. A lot of times that happened. I'm going to tell you something that happens a lot. And last thing is negative book value of equity doesn't necessarily mean the firm is unprofitable. I just said that. If a firm borrows to repurchase shares to invest in intangible assets, it can have a negative book value equity also for research and development. If right now, Apple's going to come out with a new phone and they're predicting that this phone is going to be a hit, Apple will go out and buy its own shares because they know that their shares might be going up in value. So they buy a lot of their shares and hold on to them. And if the phone's a hit, it goes up by $5 or $10. They're holding those shares and then they put them back into the market. And it can work in reverse because if the phone flops, they got problems. So always remember that. Okay. Are there any questions here? All right. I want to show you something that that's on the quiz, and we did not go over this. And I wanted to explain this because I don't like sending you guys to war without okay. Can everybody see this?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this is on the quiz, and I wanted to go over this. Okay. This says that Nikola Industries purchased a 40 million Sligo convertible. The Sligo converter would be depreciated by 10 million per year over 4 years, starting this year. Suppose Nikola tax rate is 25%. What impact will the cost of the purchase have on earnings for each of the next 4 years? B, what impact will the cost of the purchase have on the firm's cash flow in the next 4 years? Okay, first thing we have to do is that we have the impact of the firm's. So what should I do here, class? I need some help. First thing we want to know is earnings, right?
Decrease.
Decrease?
Okay. Now let's do the math together. We have the cycle converter, right? Which is 40 million. We have the 10 million right here, right? We want to show what's going on in the books. And then we have the 25% of the 10 million. So we have negative 40 million. We have a depreciation of 10 million, which is a plus. And then on this side, we just have to, we're showing what's going on in and out of the books, but then we have to subtract this 25% of this tax rate. So it's going to be a negative 40 million, right? A plus of 10 million and a negative of 7.5, which is 1 minus 0.25, right? So this becomes, I would say, negative 37.5. Yes.
Can you go over that again?
Yes.
But Professor, it says that it's depreciating by blank.
7.9. Hold on.
Oh.
I'm sorry. The question was earnings will decrease next 4 years. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was about to
It's
mention that. Sorry.
7.5. This is the negative 0.375. Hold on, and I'll explain it. And this is 2.5. In a while. Good. Okay, so that's right. Okay, so let me explain it. The first part was how much earnings will decrease by, right? Earnings will decrease by 7.5, which is, remember what I said what depreciation is, but this one, it's a decrease. So we don't need to put the negative on this one. But this one we do, because this is showing the cash flow, right? So it's 10 million times 1.25. I'm sorry, 10 million times 1 minus 0.25, right? 10 million minus 1.25 is 7.5. So the next 4 years, we're able to deduct that. The next one is the firm's impact on year one, right? What's the impact? I go out and I buy, like if I was to show it on the books, right? I go out and I buy a $40 million cyclo converter. So that's a negative 40. That's negative 40. Then I'm able to decrease this amount, negative 7.5, right? And then I can add this 10 million. So negative 40, right? Negative 40 and plus negative 7.5 plus 10 million equals negative 37.5. Now it's asking me the cash flow. If I was to show it, 10 million going in and 7.5 coming out, I will have a positive of 2.5, right? All you're showing is the cash flow. The cash flow.
Sorry, how did you get 37.5 again?
Negative 40. Negative 40 plus negative 7.5 plus positive 10.
Why do we have a positive 10?
Because we're showing what we can have to depreciate. This hasn't been depreciated yet. It's over 4 years. Remember what I took? What did I say? What do I say? What the depreciation is? Do we add it back in? Remember I showed you that before? When we add back the depreciation?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me show you something. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
How do we get the 2.5?
2.5 is 10 million minus 7.5. 2.5, 10 million minus negative 0.7.5 is 2.5. Give me 1 second. I want to show you something. Okay? 1 second, class. Okay. 1 second. Can you guys see this?
No.
Nothing yet.
How about now?
There we go.
Okay.
All right. Here it is right here. Okay? And as you can see, the difficulty is hard. Okay, so let's look at this together, right? And that way everybody would understand, right? So it's a 40%, it's at 40%, so it's at 10.5 million per year. So the next 4 years is 10.5 times 1 minus 0.4 minus 0.40. The zero is irrelevant, right? So 6.3 million each year for the next 4 years. And we know, as I said, it's a decrease, so we don't have to put the negative sign on this. The second part is the impact, right, that it has on the cash flow. The impact that it has on the cash flow. So remember what I said about depreciation, right? It's negative 6.3 plus the 10.5 minus what we purchased, right? 6.3 plus 10.5 minus 41.8. So we get negative 37.6, right? The last part of the answer is we have a company. And when we have a company, we show the impact on the cash flow, the impact. Because, like when they come to see your books, when these guys, the auditors come, they want to see how you put this on the books, right? You just don't whiff up numbers and say, well, this is what we did it this way. No, there's a way of doing it. So the way of doing it is you subtract the depreciation and you add back the amount and you show a net number of 4.2. That's the impact of the cash flow for years 2 and 4. Got it?
Yes, Professor.
Professor, I have a question.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my question to you is the impact on the cash flow for year 2 through.
I can't hear you. Say that one more time.
Okay, my question to you is that it is saying the impact on the cash flow for years 2 through 4 is,
Mm.
so it's gonna be for 2 years, or like because here it's
So,
no.
each year is going to be 4.2. So each time you do this deduction, right? Because remember, you're deducting this right here. You're going to do it for another 2 years. So next 2 through 4 is 4.2 for the third and the fourth. Okay?
So it's not going to be cumulative, it's yearly.
Yeah, it's yearly. The impact on the cash flow for years 2 through 4.
I think he wants to know if this is for years 2, 3, and 4, or if it's for each year.
I would say it's each year, Michelle.
Thank you, Professor.
Because remember what we said. We're trying to depreciate this amount, right? Which is this right here in 4 years. So each time we have to show that. One of the things that people don't understand is that when you are in a firm, right, in business, let's say we work for a company like Citibank or JP Morgan, we would do hundreds of these. We would do a whole bunch of these deals because 41.8 million is chump change when you're dealing with like billions and 600 million. We would do hundreds of these with small companies. You wouldn't remember. You would not remember all these. That's why you have to keep track. You couldn't remember all these things. If we did 5 of them today, 10 of them next week, 15 of them in the week after, would you know what's going on? You wouldn't remember. So that's why we have to show everything that we have. That's why we have audits. That's why I was explaining to you at the beginning. You have to show your cash flows, things going in and out. I'm sure Queens College must have a serious auditing area, right? People who drop classes when they get 50% back, when they do this back, it all has to add up. It's not done by memory, right? Everything has to be accounted for. Everything. Everything has to be accounted for. So if I was in the class, write these formulas, write this down, because you might see this question again. So I'm taking my time. So write these formulas or take a picture, do what you have to do. Plus, it's recorded right now. So if you have to watch it again, you can see it again. Right?
So is the negative 6.3 from doing 0.6 times 10.5?
Yes.
So then we're adding it back to its own original amount? Like the depreciation plus the 10.5 million that will be depreciated.
Right.
I'm confused.
Michelle, what it's doing, Michelle, it's showing how everything happened. Right? If someone came over 5 years from now, let's say next year, and we're being audited, they'll say to you, let's say there was some way or another, we didn't have this number, or something happened, and they said, how did you come up with this? You would be able to go back and say, wait a minute, our tax rate was this amount, 40%. So if I go back and I multiply this by 40% or 6.0, I can come back to this number. Someone says to you, how did you know that it was 10.5? You say, well, we bought the machine for 41.8 and we were able to depreciate it for 4 years. So 10.5 times 4, right? I believe it equals to this. Is that what it equals to? Is that right?
Uh,
41.8? Huh?
yeah, I think so. I mean, it shows.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what I mean. You have to be able to go back to your numbers when you're dealing with your balance sheet and when you're dealing with your cash flows, the statement of cash flows. You have to show things going in and out.
So like with the cash flows, are we doing positive 10.5 because depreciation isn't really getting rid of cash, it's just like imaginary?
Exactly. Exactly. I always imaginary. Okay. Okay, you can use that word. Yeah. One of the things that um, you have to understand when you're dealing with numbers, right, in a bank or in a business, right, you have to be able to prove and you have to be able to, there are guidelines that to follow, right? If you're not following the guidelines, if you're going against the norm, if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, right, you're going to have problems. You're going to fail the audit and you're going to get fired. Okay? So keep that in mind when you guys are working in a firm or if you work for a firm now, right? That's the reason why they double check everything. They have signatures on everything. You sign off on things that you, in fact, did check it, right? When an audit is done, they have 2 people or 3 people who sign off on an audit to make sure what you say is right. And I don't know if I said this here, if Bernie Madoff had an audit, a real audit, he would have been busted on the first deal that they pulled up. First thing that they did. They would have seen that he's full of baloney. If they had an audit, a real audit. Any questions? Okay, I'm gonna give a little preview of what's in store for us coming up soon. I've assigned the quiz for chapter 2 and it's due on Thursday. All right, and then we're going to start on chapter 3. Let me give you a little prelude. We did that. Okay. This right here is one of my favorite questions. It's not hard. The reason why I like it is because we're going to be doing currency conversion, right? We're going to convert these currencies into dollar equivalent, right? That's a little prelude from what we're going to be doing. And that's one thing. This is that we're going to be doing what they call present value, right? Present value, right? And then we're going to be calculating future value of amounts, and we're going to be calculating how to calculate values in money, right? How much money we need to put away. And this will be finding out the present value of this amount. Now, as I said before, you need a calculator like this. Now, some of you, you guys are adults. I don't, I'm not one to tell you what to do, because whatever decisions you make, you have to live with as an adult. So remember that. So I strongly recommend getting this BA2 plus for the rounding issue. But if you feel that you can get away with doing, I shouldn't use that word, get away. If you feel that you can do your work with your own calculator, so be it. But be forewarned, right? Be forewarned that I made this suggestion for you to get a BA2 plus calculator. All right, let's see what else we have here. Okay, this looks like a future value and present value involved. These are present values, future values, and so on. Okay. Let me do this. Anyone has any questions?
Yeah, Professor, I have a question.
Oh, go ahead. Hold on 1 second. What's your question?
Professor, how we can fix in BA2 plus, like we have an amount and then we are multiplying 1 minus 0.35. So, you know, instead of like going into the brackets, like we just continuously keep on calculating and then divide the number, you know, instead of just writing the number and, you know, things like that. So how we can, because it gives a different result in the calculator. So
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying.
like we have a quick ratio. Now in quick ratio, the formula is current assets minus inventory. And then we divide the answer with the current liabilities. So we have to write first of all the answer and then divide, type the same answer and then divide it with the current liabilities in order to get the answer. So is it possible like we can do it straight away without writing?
No. What happens, I know what you're trying to say. In other
Yeah.
words, keep going.
That can save the time actually.
Right. One of the things that I find bad with that is that if you make a mistake in your memory, the whole thing is wrong. So it's better to slow down and do it twice, or do it, you know, have something, than to try to take a shortcut. Because there is a memory. There's definitely a memory. But one mistake and the whole thing is wrong. So keep that in mind. There's a memory function in there that you could use. And I don't recommend using it because mistakes can be made. And keep in mind, Joel, that 1 minute, it's like saying 1 ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. Okay?
All right, Professor. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night, everyone. I'll see everybody on Thursday, and we're going to start on Channel 3. And your quiz for Chapter 2 is due on Thursday. Good night. Sabrina, you had a question?
No, Professor. Good night. Thank you.
All right. Sorry. When you had a
Thanks,
question?
Professor. Have a great night.
Bye, Batia. Good night.